People believe destruction is loud. They imagine shouting, violence, broken walls, and obvious warning signs. But the most dangerous kind of collapse is silent. It hides behind routine. It wears the mask of normal. That's where my story begins. From the outside, my life looked ordinary. I had responsibilities, a daily routine, and people who assumed I was doing fine. I woke up, moved through the day, and returned home like everyone else. Nothing looked broken. Nothing looked alarming. But inside, something was slowly eroding. I wasn't sad in a way people recognize. I wasn't crying or begging for help. Instead, I felt empty. Emotionless. As if someone had turned the volume of my life down so low that even my own thoughts sounded distant. Sleep stopped feeling like rest. Nights became long stretches of staring into darkness, replaying the same thoughts over and over. My mind never slowed down, yet my body felt exhausted all the time. I told myself it was stress. Everyone deals with stress. That excuse became my hiding place. I stopped talking about how I felt. Not because I didn't notice something was wrong, but because admitting it felt like weakness. I believed strength meant endurance. I believed silence meant control. I was wrong. The warning signs were there. Emotional numbness. Sudden irritation over small things. Moments where I felt disconnected from my own actions, like I was watching myself from a distance. I noticed them. But I ignored them. I normalized everything that should have scared me. Days blended together. I functioned on autopilot. I smiled when expected. I answered questions without meaning. Inside, pressure kept building, quietly, patiently. Then came the day that changed everything. What terrifies me now is how ordinary it felt. There was no dramatic argument. No explosive buildup. No clear moment screaming stop. It was just another moment that should have passed like all the others. But something inside me broke. Not slowly. Not gradually. Instantly. What happened next cannot be justified. It cannot be softened. It cannot be explained away. In a matter of moments, one decision destroyed everything I once was. Afterward, silence filled the space. Not peaceful silence, heavy, suffocating silence. The kind that presses against your chest and makes breathing feel unnatural. I stood frozen, unable to process what had happened, unable to undo anything. Shock protected me at first. It wrapped around my mind like a blanket, dulling reality. But shock doesn't last forever. When it faded, reality rushed in all at once. The place around me felt contaminated by memory. Objects felt accusatory. Every detail burned itself into my mind with cruel clarity. I avoided mirrors because I couldn't face the person staring back at me. That person felt like a stranger, someone I didn't recognize and didn't want to accept. Fear didn't arrive immediately. Confusion came first. Then emptiness. Then a deep, crushing realization that life had split permanently into two parts, before this moment, and after it. I drifted for days. Walking without direction. Existing without purpose. Eventually, I found myself sitting alone somewhere quiet, watching the world continue as if nothing had changed. Cars passed. People laughed. Life moved forward. That hurt more than anything. I whispered apologies that had nowhere to land. I searched for peace I didn't deserve. I wanted the noise inside my head to stop, even for a second. It didn't. Instead, the silence grew louder. And that was when I understood something terrifying. The moment I thought was the end, was only the beginning. I believed the worst thing had already happened, until guilt finally woke up and began to speak. Guilt doesn't arrive immediately. At first, it waits. It watches you breathe. It listens to your silence. Then, when you are finally alone, it begins to speak. In the beginning, I felt detached. As if what had happened belonged to someone else. I moved through hours without truly being present. Sounds felt distant. Faces blurred together. Reality felt unreal. That illusion didn't last. Night was the worst. Darkness removed distractions. There was nothing left to hide behind. My thoughts became judges, replaying every second with cruel precision. I wasn't remembering anymore, I was reliving. Sleep offered no escape. Dreams repeated what I wanted to forget. I woke up exhausted, my body heavy, my chest tight, as if guilt itself was sitting on me. I avoided people. Not because they accused me, but because their normal lives felt unbearable. Laughter felt offensive. Casual conversations felt unreal. How could the world continue when everything inside me had collapsed? For a short time, I delayed facing consequences. Not because I believed I could escape, but because fear makes humans cling to denial. I wanted one more moment where reality hadn't fully closed in. But truth is patient. When it finally arrived, I didn't resist. I felt relief. Running was exhausting. Pretending required too much energy. Surrender felt lighter than silence. The process that followed was cold and mechanical. Faces without emotion. Words spoken without comfort. Sentences delivered like instructions. None of it shocked me. I had already judged myself. Isolation followed. And with it came clarity. Every ignored warning sign replayed clearly. Sleepless nights. Emotional numbness. Sudden anger. Isolation disguised as independence. I saw the pattern I had refused to see before. This wasn't a single mistake. It was a slow collapse. I noticed others around me. Different stories. Same emptiness. Same haunted eyes. Society calls people like us monsters. But monsters aren't always born. Many are created quietly. Through neglect, denial, and untreated pain. That realization didn't comfort me. It terrified me. Because it meant this could happen again. Somewhere else. To someone else. Guilt alone didn't heal anything. Regret didn't undo damage. And punishment by itself didn't prevent repetition. Understanding that was heavier than any sentence. I thought guilt was my greatest enemy, until I was forced to face myself. When there's nowhere left to run, the mind turns inward. At first, I resisted self-examination. Understanding myself felt dangerous. Like clarity might sound like justification. I didn't want explanations, I wanted punishment. But silence doesn't erase truth. It amplifies it. Eventually, I spoke honestly. What surfaced wasn't comforting. The person I became wasn't created in one moment. It was shaped over time, by exhaustion, emotional isolation, unresolved pressure, and denial. I had normalized everything that should have alarmed me. I wrote constantly. Words I would never send. Apologies that would never be read. Confessions meant for responsibility, not forgiveness. Writing forced me to confront reality without filters. One realization changed everything. Ignoring pain doesn't make it disappear. It teaches it how to grow. I stopped asking why this happened and started asking how it could have been prevented. The answers were painful, but clear. Help was available. I just refused it. Support existed. I avoided it. Warning signs appeared. I ignored them. I learned that strength isn't silence. Silence is risk. Redemption, I realized, isn't about being forgiven. Sometimes it's about becoming a warning others can hear in time. That understanding didn't free me. But it gave purpose to the weight I carried. Purpose didn't erase consequences, but it changed how I carried them. Time doesn't heal everything. It teaches you how to carry pain without letting it destroy you. Years passed. The weight stayed. Some days were quiet. Others felt endless. I stopped searching for happiness and focused on responsibility. Responsibility to speak honestly. Responsibility to warn. Responsibility to break silence. Because silence was the most dangerous lie I ever believed. I began to understand that consequences don't expire. They evolve. They follow you into every quiet moment, every reflection, every memory. But I also learned something else: silence doesn't protect anyone. If pain is ignored, it grows. If anger is buried, it explodes. If isolation is normalized, collapse becomes inevitable. I accepted that my story would always carry darkness. That truth doesn't fade. But silence didn't have to be the final chapter. The final lesson didn't come from punishment, it came from understanding what silence truly costs. The most dangerous breakdowns are quiet ones. They happen when people say I'm fine while breaking inside. When exhaustion is ignored. When anger is normalized. When help feels like weakness. That was my mistake. Looking back, the signs were clear. I just didn't want to see them. If you feel overwhelmed, emotionally unstable, or isolated, pause. That pause can save lives. Ask for help. Speak before silence turns permanent. Strength isn't silence. Strength is honesty. Some mistakes cannot be undone, but some tragedies are preventable. This story isn't about sympathy. It's about awareness. Because consequences may be permanent, but prevention is always possible. If this story made you uncomfortable, listen closely. Discomfort is often the warning we ignore too late.